The first time the alien saw Travis Ziegler's missing arm, it froze mid-step. One long foot suspended above the deck plating, sloshing slightly in the artificial gravity field. Its pale skin shimmered under the corridor's sterile lights, but its four eyes locked unblinking on the empty space where Travis's left arm should have been. Travis noticed, because everyone noticed. He adjusted the strap on his tool bag, shifting it across his shoulder to balance the weight. The stub of his left arm, ending in a smooth scar just above the elbow, was in plain view. He didn't bother to hide it anymore. Not out here. The alien's name was Vetril. It belonged to a species called the Alneri, known for their obsession with symmetry and regenerative capabilities. To them, missing a limb was like walking around with your internal organs exposed. Travis wasn't sure if the stillness was curiosity or revulsion. Vetril finally spoke. "You are incomplete." "I noticed," Travis replied dryly. Vetril tilted its elongated head. "Why are you not undergoing regenerative therapy? Was it not offered to you upon station entry?" "It was," Travis said and turned to keep walking. Vetril followed, its strides long and fluid. "Then why do you remain injured?" Vetril's voice was calm, but probing. "It's not an injury. Not anymore." But Vetril paused. "You are missing a limb. That is a textbook definition of an injury." Travis stopped and turned around. "It's an old war injury." Vetril blinked in sequence, top eyes then bottom. "War? Yeah," Travis said, shifting the tool bag again. "You know, when two groups of people decide they hate each other enough to try and wipe each other out with bullets, bombs, drones. That kind of thing. You lost your limb in battle? IED. Roadside bomb. I was 24. Travis started down the corridor again, slower now as the joint in his right knee twinged. He didn't need that one replaced just yet, but it was coming. Vetril followed silently for a while, then asked, "Why did you not regrow it?" "Humans can't regrow limbs." Vetril stopped walking again. "You're lying." Travis turned his head. "Nope. But you walk. You spacewalk. You operate complex tools. You entered the vacuum of space with one arm and returned with cargo intact. That is not possible without full limb symmetry." Travis shrugged. "Guess we make do." The corridor opened into one of the maintenance bays. A huge panel had come loose from the outer hull during a recent meteor storm, and Travis had been called in by the Terran Interstellar Engineering Corps to patch it. Half the bay was open to vacuum, shielded by a temporary force dome. The other half was filled with tool racks, drone repair pods, and a small cluster of technicians. Vetril stayed close by, watching every move as Travis suited up. "I do not understand," Vetril said again, softer this time. "Why not replace the limb with a mechanical substitute, if not organic regrowth?" "I tried," Travis said, locking the seal on his helmet. "Didn't take." The nerve interface kept rejecting the hardware. "After 6 surgeries and half a dozen infections, I called it quits. That is inefficient. Illogical." Vetril's eyes scanned the stump again. "And yet you continue to work in high-risk environments." "Gotta pay the bills," Travis said. "Besides, I'm not half bad with one arm." Outside the dome, the stars blinked silently. Travis stepped into the airlock. Vetril watched from the glass panel, for eyes intent. The patch job took 23 minutes. Travis moved like a man who'd rehearsed every motion 1,000 times. The tether from his suit clipped into the hull while his right hand operated the plasma welder. A drone hovered nearby, extending a panel for reinforcement. Travis grabbed it with a practiced twist of his shoulder, guiding it into place. When he returned, shedding the suit piece by piece, he found Vetril still waiting. "You function with the efficiency of a dual-limbed operative," Vetril said. "Thanks," Travis replied, wiping sweat from his brow. "I used to be one." "You grieve it?" Travis paused. "Yeah," he admitted. "Sometimes. Mostly when I'm trying to zip up my jacket with gloves on." Vetril looked puzzled. Travis didn't elaborate. Later that day, Travis sat in the cafeteria, spooning thick protein paste into his mouth. The only open seat was across from a Zentari diplomat named Gulen. Gulen sat stiffly, as if the plastic chair was beneath him. He glanced at Travis's arm and said, "You are the one the Alneri keep discussing." "Sounds about right," Travis muttered. "They say you are a war survivor. I guess that's one way to put it. You lost your limb in a ground conflict?" "Yup." Gulen leaned forward slightly. "Do humans not install subdermal armor plates during military service?" "Not standard issue," Travis said. "We're not built like you guys. We don't have exoskeletal reinforcement. We get flak jackets and luck." Gulen frowned. "And yet you survive. Thrive, even." Travis didn't respond. He finished his food and stood. Back in his quarters, Travis sat on the edge of his bunk and rubbed his shoulder. Phantom limb pain crept in again like it always did after a hard EVA. He popped a muscle relaxant and leaned back. The next morning, he was summoned to Deck 12. Emergency repair. A coolant line had ruptured near the reactor shielding, and the radiation levels were already near the threshold. Travis checked the readouts and swore softly. He suited up. The corridor was a nightmare of steam and blinking hazard lights. Travis moved quickly, keeping his breathing slow and steady. Inside the containment zone, he had maybe 8 minutes before exposure started doing real damage. He reached the breach, clamped the pipe, and began welding. His grip slipped once, the torch flaring dangerously near his visor. He adjusted, readjusted, and sealed the breach. By the time he stumbled out, the medtechs were waiting with a decontamination pod. Travis stripped and stepped in without argument. Gillen stood nearby, watching. "You risked radiation poisoning to save a coolant line," Gillen said. "Could have gone critical," Travis replied. He felt lightheaded. No one wants to see what happens when a fusion core vents. "Even with one arm," Gillen murmured. "You are." "Confounding. Tell me about it," Travis muttered, closing his eyes. The next 48 hours passed in the infirmary. Travis was flushed with 4 fluids, scanned for tissue degradation, and monitored for delayed symptoms. He hated every second. But the medics were thorough, and eventually he was cleared. When he returned to work, Vetril was waiting at the bay. "You damaged your internal cells to save others," it said. "I did my job," Travis said. "Why continue? You have already given much. You could leave." Travis stared out at the stars. "Because I still can." Vetril tilted its head again, as if trying to grasp something just out of reach. Later that week, the station hosted a diplomatic reception. Travis wasn't invited, but he wandered nearby, fixing a busted environmental panel in the corridor outside the main hall. Through the glass, he saw Vetril and Gillen speaking to a new arrival tall, armor-plated, with an array of neural ports down its spine. The newcomer noticed Travis. Its gaze lingered on the missing arm. "What is that creature?" it asked Vetril. "That is Travis Ziegler, Terran engineer." "War veteran. The Terran with the missing limb?" "Yes." The armored alien was silent for a moment. "He continues to operate?" "Yes." "With only one arm?" "Yes." The alien's voice dropped. "What kind of species sends a maimed soldier back into the void?" Vetril glanced through the glass again. "The kind," it said quietly, "that does not wait for perfection to act." Travis turned back to his tools, unaware of the conversation. The panel sparked once before falling into place. He sat back, wiped his brow, and flexed the fingers of his right hand. "Still got it," he muttered. And in the quiet hum of the corridor, the stars blinked on. The coolant rupture left a faint metallic scent lingering in the maintenance corridor for 2 days. Travis noticed it as he climbed up the panel ladder on Deck 6, one boot wedged into the rung, the other bracing him into the corner. The fresh carbon filters hadn't arrived yet, and the ventilation fans gave off a dull whine like they were protesting the delay. Below him, 2 Ralathi engineers hovered beside a diagnostic console, speaking in tight, percussive bursts. Their torsos shimmered with bioluminescent pulses, greens for data flow, oranges for uncertainty. Travis didn't speak Ralathi, but he'd learned to read the colors well enough. "Orange again," he called down. "That pipe's still reading unstable?" One of them glanced up, their single vertical line narrowing slightly. "Pressure in the second subloop is inconsistent." "Your patch held." "The system around it didn't." Travis sighed and tapped the side of the pipe with 2 fingers. "Figures." The whole infrastructure's held together with 70-year-old welds and good intentions. "We do not understand that sentence," the Ralathi said. "Don't worry about it," Travis muttered, hoisting himself up another rung. The casing above him had warped slightly, probably from microfractures expanding under thermal cycling. He pulled a small vibrosaw from his belt and sliced through the edge, careful to brace his shoulder against the wall so he didn't lose balance. The access panel dropped with a clatter, and he caught it awkwardly against his hip. The Ralathi looked up again. That movement was inefficient. "Tell my spine," Travis said, wiggling the panel free with one hand. "You ever try maintaining balance on a ladder while hanging sideways with a socket wrench and no counterweight arm?" "No," said the taller one. "We possess 6 limbs." "Yeah," Travis muttered. "You people cheat." He worked in silence for a while, threading a new thermal sensor into the cavity. The wires were old pre-merger standard, with brittle insulation and the bracket was bent. He'd have to fabricate a new one later. For now, he wedged a spacer behind it and tightened the bolt until it stopped wobbling. Below, the console flashed blue. Reading stable, one of the Relathis said. Temperature regulation back within tolerance. Good, Travis said. Close it out then. I've got another call on deck 9. They didn't move. Instead, the taller one stepped closer to the ladder. We have a question. Travis paused halfway down. Shoot. The alien's body flickered faint green, the Relathi color for contemplation. You adapt to structural limitations without mechanical augmentation. Is this common among your kind? Not really, Travis said. Most people use prosthetics. I just didn't like the options. You perform tasks requiring symmetric dexterity. Depends how you define dexterity, Travis said. I've had 12 years to learn how to do everything one-handed. That's time a lot of people don't get. The shorter Relathi's glow shifted. You are not resentful? Travis adjusted his tool belt. Doesn't help. I tried being angry for a while. It got boring. They were quiet for a moment. Then the taller one stepped aside, tapping the console to seal the maintenance log. As Travis passed them, the shorter Relathi's voice softened. We will request new panel brackets from logistics. Appreciate it, Travis said. By the time he reached the lift, the corridor was already growing warm again, heat cycling back into balance. He leaned against the wall and rolled his shoulder, letting the ache settle for a moment. Later that shift, he was summoned to the observation dome. Not for repairs, someone from the Averin diplomatic mission had requested a consult. Travis wasn't sure why a diplomat needed an engineer, but he wasn't in the mood to argue. The dome was half empty when he arrived. 3 Averin delegates stood near the central viewport, their translucent cloaks fluttering slightly from the dome's environmental recirculators. They didn't turn when he entered. One of them eventually gestured without looking. You are the Terran technician. Travis, he said. What's the issue? Another delegate approached, hands folded behind its back. It stood nearly 2 meters tall, slender, and curved like a reed. We have been reviewing your station's redundancy protocols. Several systems rely on manual overrides. That's correct, Travis said. Some of the older equipment doesn't interface with the core system. Takes a human touch. How do you ensure reliability with personnel limitations? Travis raised an eyebrow. Meaning what, exactly? You lack full biological symmetry, the Averin said. Yet you're listed as primary response on multiple critical subsystems. I've got 2 legs, 1 good hand, and a head that still knows what an overvoltage spike sounds like, Travis said. That's been enough so far. The Averin tilted its head. Your species accepts inefficiency as a trade-off for continuity? We accept reality, Travis said. Sometimes you lose a part of yourself and life keeps going. You figure it out. Another delegate stepped forward. You do not conceal your condition. Should I? In some cultures, physical imbalance is associated with weakness, it said. Travis crossed his arms. Not mine. There was a pause. One of the Averins turned back toward the viewport. We have reviewed the footage from your recent radiation exposure. Didn't realize that was public viewing. We study risk behavior. Your actions were noted. Glad I could provide entertainment. The first Averin turned again. You acted without hesitation. There wasn't time to debate it. You chose to risk cellular degradation rather than delay containment. Travis stared at them. You invited me up here to ask why I did my job? Your behavior is atypical. No, Travis said. It's just not what you're used to. None of them replied. After a moment, Travis turned toward the exit. Wait, said one of them. We have a final question. He stopped. If the damage to your limb cannot be reversed and augmentation failed, why continue in a field requiring physical exertion? Because I'm good at it, Travis said. And because if I don't do it, someone else might get hurt. That reason still works for me. He left the dome without waiting for a response. That night, he sat in the diagnostics bay, recalibrating the sensor array on a salvage drone. The casing was scorched from plasma exposure, and the central processor was missing 2 pins. He could have logged it as scrap, but he'd grown attached to this one. It had once pulled him out of a decompression slide with a towing cable and a dying battery. He figured it deserved a second chance. A soft tapping interrupted him. He looked up to see Vetral standing in the doorway. I was told you were here, it said. Guess the grapevine's working overtime, Travis said. What's up? Vetral stepped inside, its gait slower than usual. You are being discussed. That's starting to sound like a hobby around here. There are proposals in motion, Vetral said. Regarding cross-species resilience studies, your name is appearing frequently. Travis set the wiring tool down. I'm not a lab rat. They are not requesting experimentation. They are requesting observation. Still sounds like a sideshow. Vetril watched him for a moment. You repaired the coolant array. The evacuation protocol had not yet triggered. You could have waited and let the reactor breach. I don't plan on dying just to be polite. Vetril approached the workbench. This drone. It is beyond standard repair parameters. It saved my life, Travis said. I figured I'd return the favor. You ascribe loyalty to machinery. No, Travis said. I ascribe memories to it. The drone's casing clicked as he adjusted the alignment. Vetril examined it, then reached out carefully to touch an exposed servo. You are not what we expected from a Terran, it said. Travis raised an eyebrow. Most of us aren't, once you get past the headlines. Vetril's gaze lingered on the drone. You are rebuilding something that has no obligation to return. Travis nodded. Some things are worth the effort, even if they don't work like they used to. Vetril was quiet for a long moment. Then it turned toward the door. Tomorrow, it said, a joint delegation is convening to discuss emergency response protocols. They have requested your presence. Travis looked up. Why me? They want to understand how you calculate risk. He snorted. They won't like the answer. Perhaps, Vetril said. But they are beginning to understand the value of asking the question. The doorway closed behind it, leaving Travis alone with the half-repaired drone and the quiet hum of the station around him. He picked up the wiring tool again, adjusted his grip, and got back to work. The briefing room smelled faintly of ozone and cleaning solvent, the kind used to wipe down control panels after plasma residue tests. Travis sat at the far end of the U-shaped table, arms resting loosely in front of him. He tugged at the collar of his uniform. It wasn't his usual work gear, but someone on the station's Joint Response Committee had insisted he wear formal representation attire. It didn't fit right. The left sleeve was pinned, not tailored. He'd asked them to leave it off entirely, but they'd said that would breach uniform code. Across from him were 6 non-humans, each from a different species, none of them remotely alike in biology or temperament. The Averan delegate who'd summoned him sat closest, posture rigid as if the chair was somehow offensive. Next to them was a Cernian with a translucent carapace and 6 twitching digits drumming on the tabletop like it was a percussion instrument. A pair of Nulk observers, small, hexapadal, and constantly adjusting their vocal modulators, watched him with unsettling stillness. The only other human in the room, Lieutenant Daria Quinn, sat 2 seats to his left, flipping through the emergency protocol binder like she was actively trying not to make eye contact. She'd warned him this would be uncomfortable. He hadn't expected the room to feel like a dissection theater. The Averan delegate began. You were involved in an unscheduled coolant containment response 6 solar cycles ago. That's right, Travis said. You entered a high radiation zone without backup. I had a 10-minute window before the pressure valve failed. And you made that choice alone? There wasn't time to convene a panel, Travis said, glancing at Daria. I wasn't aware I needed board approval to stop a fusion leak. That is not what we question, said the Cernian. Its voice filtered through a translator that echoed slightly, like it came from the bottom of a well. We question the parameters by which your species calculates acceptable risk. My parameters were, patch the line or watch the reactor go up and take half the station with it. The nope to his right adjusted its translator. You are physically compromised. Travis exhaled slowly. You mean the arm? We mean the totality of your condition, it said. Your bone density is lower than baseline. Scans show incomplete nerve cluster regeneration. Your right shoulder exhibits elevated strain. Thoracic imaging shows signs of old impact trauma. Have you all been leafing through my medical file like it's a group project? You consented to observation, the Averan said. I consented to answer questions, Travis shot back. Not to be turned into a case study. Daria finally looked up. They're trying to understand how you operate in the field. That's all. No, Travis said. They're trying to understand why someone who doesn't match their definition of functional is still fixing things they can't. The room went quiet. The Cernian tapped its digits again, slower this time. The Averan spoke. Your actions are efficient. Your condition is not. This contradiction requires resolution. You're looking for logic where there's just grit, Travis said. You want the numbers to explain it, but sometimes it's just stubbornness and a refusal to let your day end with a hole in the side of the station. Is this common in Terrans? The Nulk asked. Being stubborn? Travis said. Extremely. Daria cleared her throat. There's a larger context here. Terran emergency protocols don't always align with off-world standards. We act on instinct when necessary. Travis acted within his training. He acted beyond it, the Aver encountered. Maybe, Travis said. But the patch held. The Cernian leaned forward slightly. Your biological limitations are not unique. Other species experience injury and degradation. But few continue high-risk labor without augmentation. I tried the augment, Travis said. Didn't take. Was the failure due to rejection or psychological incompatibility? Travis took a moment before answering. Both, he said. The hardware never meshed with the shoulder remnant. The nerve clusters too unstable. Every new interface just caused more inflammation, and I got sick of being treated like a defective appliance. There was a pause. You could have been reassigned, said the Averan. Yeah, Travis said. Could have worked a desk. Filed reports. Let someone else crawl into the vent shafts at 3 a.m. Yet you did not. I like fixing things, he said. Even if it's messy. Even if some days suck. Even if I have to do it one-handed. I still get things done. The Nulk tilted its head. You do not perceive yourself as impaired. I perceive myself as adapted, Travis said. You think symmetry is the same as function. It's not. Daria closed the binder. We've had 7 separate incidents in the last 2 months requiring fast manual response. Travis resolved 5 of them. That's not coincidence. The Cernian's carapace shimmered faintly. We acknowledge the outcomes. But we must assess sustainability. How long can he continue operating at this level? You planning to offer me a softer gig? Travis asked. No, the Averan said. Then don't worry about my shelf life. The room held a long silence. The Nulk finally deactivated its translator and tapped something into a neural pad. The Averan stood. We have enough for now. Travis stood too, slower. Good. He moved toward the door as the others filed their separate ways. Daria caught up to him in the corridor. You didn't have to be that combative. I wasn't combative. I was honest. They still approved your field status. I figured they would. They just needed to convince themselves they weren't making an exception. The walk back to Maintenance Sector B took 10 minutes. The corridor lights were flickering again, and the air was too dry. Travis ducked into the utility bay and found a small crowd gathered around the diagnostics table. Vetril was there, along with 2 junior techs and the drone he'd rebuilt. Its casing was now polished, and the left stabilizer fin was twitching rhythmically. She's responding again, one of the techs said. Travis stepped up. Sorry, Habit. We've been calling it patch. Fair enough, Travis said. She did pull one. The drone's optic lit up green. Its hover module engaged and lifted it halfway off the table before stabilizing. Vetril observed in silence, then turned to him. You attended the committee session. I did. They questioned your viability. They did. And I passed, Travis said. Apparently I'm still useful. Vetril tilted its head. They will never fully understand your species' tolerance for damage. Not my job to make them comfortable with it. The drone settled back on the table. One of the techs handed Travis a data slate. Diagnostics are clean. She's good to go. Travis nodded. Run a tether test tomorrow. If it holds, we'll put her back in the rotation. Vetril lingered a moment longer. You continue despite rejection, despite pain, despite function loss. So do you, Travis said. Just differently. Vetril considered that. Perhaps resilience is not about preservation, but persistence. Travis checked the time. It's about showing up. Every day. Even when the gear's busted and the air smells like burnt circuits. He packed his tools, nodded once to the group, and headed for the lift. That night, he sat in his bunk and rolled his shoulder slowly, testing the joint's range. It ached, but manageable. He reached for the portable stim unit and set it against the muscle, letting it pulse. The med techs had told him he should consider surgical revision. He declined. Again, not out of pride, not even stubbornness, just a simple understanding. Pain wasn't the enemy. Stopping was. The station lights dimmed for night cycle. Outside his window, the stars spun slowly over the curve of the hull. He laid back, one arm folded behind his head, and let the quiet settle. He was still here, and that was enough.